Prince Harry's name is trending again, but not for any royal accomplishments. No, this time it's something far more shocking and disturbing. Behind the gates of Montecito, a storm is brewing, and the palace has stayed eerily quiet about it. So what really went down? Was it a simple medical emergency, or is there a much darker story lurking behind closed doors? Allegedly, Harry was found unconscious at his California home, and this wasn't some random fainting spell. It's being tied to heavy drug use. And while her husband was being rushed to the hospital, Meghan Markle wasn't at his side. Instead, she reportedly bolted to party with her inner circle at an exclusive members-only club. Yeah, let that sink in. What happened behind the walls of their mansion could change everything we think we know about Harry, Meghan, and the royal family. Stick around, because this story isn't what you think. The scene inside Harry's California home was nothing short of chaotic. Sources close to the situation claim that he was found unconscious, and it wasn't just another fainting spell. This was something much darker. According to insiders, Harry's collapse is being linked to a combination of heavy drug use, including marijuana, magic mushrooms, and cocaine. Yes, you heard that right, cocaine. But what makes this even more disturbing isn't just the substances involved, it's what happened next. While Harry was reportedly rushed to the hospital, the one person who should have been by his side, Meghan Markle, was nowhere to be found. Instead of staying with her husband in his time of crisis, Meghan allegedly bolted, leaving Harry alone to face the emergency. And the kicker? She was seen that very same night at an exclusive, members-only club, partying with her inner circle, laughing it up like nothing had happened. The question now is, how much does Meghan really know about Harry's struggles? And more importantly, how far is she willing to go to keep her own narrative intact? This isn't just a bad night, it could be the unraveling of everything. As the dust settles, there's one person who has been by Harry's side through it all, David Langdown. This isn't just any bodyguard. Langdown is a former Scotland Yard officer, decorated for his service, and someone who's been a constant presence in Harry's life since the early 2000s. He's not just tasked with protecting the prince. His job is to literally keep him alive. And it was Langdown who reportedly discovered Harry in a critical state that night. The man who has spent decades safeguarding Harry was the one to make the call that could have saved his life. He knew the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just another careless mistake, this was a full-on emergency. The kind of emergency that might have been buried, swept under the rug, and kept hidden from the public eye, if not for Langdown's intervention. This was a man who earned a medal from the late Queen herself, and now it's his actions that could expose what's really been going on behind the scenes. But what does this all mean for Harry's future? And why did it take someone like Langdown to finally step in? Could this be the tipping point that forces the palace to confront a much deeper issue? The plot thickens. Harry's struggles with substances aren't exactly breaking news. In fact, they've been whispered about for years. But what's different this time is the gravity of the situation. This isn't just a wild night out or some rebellious phase, it's a pattern, one that has been spiraling out of control for a long time. From early on, Harry was no stranger to experimenting with marijuana and alcohol, but insiders say things quickly escalated. As a young man, his behavior began to spiral, leading to more dangerous substances. Blackouts, emotional breakdowns, and wild outbursts became a constant, prompting panic among those close to him, including his royal aides. But the palace, they never took real action. Instead of facing consequences, Harry was often shielded, protected by a system that valued image over his well-being. When his issues became too public to ignore, Prince Charles allegedly did the unthinkable. He built a private nightclub inside Highgrove, a lavish attempt to control Harry's behavior without addressing the core problem. But this isn't where the story ends. Far from it. As time went on, Harry's issues with substances deepened, and it's not just some rebellious prince narrative. He was in trouble, and no one stepped in to help. It's a tragic reflection of how Harry's spiraling addiction was ignored for years, until now. And now the truth is slowly coming to light, piece by shocking piece. Now, let's take a closer look at Meghan's role in all of this. Her absence that night wasn't just a coincidence. It's raised some serious questions. While Harry lay unconscious, reportedly fighting for his life, Meghan wasn't by his side. Instead, sources claim she quickly bolted from the scene, creating an alibi for herself. And where did she go? To a private, members-only club, partying with friends like nothing had happened. Why would she leave her husband in a crisis? Was it sheer indifference, or was there something more calculated at play? This isn't the first time Meghan's actions have raised eyebrows, but this one feels different. If these reports are true, it paints a picture of someone more focused on their own image and narrative than on the well-being of their spouse. And what's more disturbing is the speculation that Meghan has been fully aware of Harry's struggles for years, and possibly even enabled them. According to some sources, she's used his addiction as a way to control him, keeping him in a dazed, dependent state while she continues to craft the narrative they want the world to see. This theory is chilling, but it's not coming out of nowhere. Meghan's past, long before she was the Duchess of Sussex, already shows signs of a more complicated relationship with substances. Could she have been using Harry's vulnerabilities as leverage all along? Or is this just another layer of a much bigger, more complex story? Whatever the truth is, Meghan's absence that night speaks volumes, and the questions surrounding her actions are only growing louder. Before Meghan Markle became the Duchess of Sussex, she wasn't exactly the picture of the polished, royal image we've come to know. In fact, long before stepping into the spotlight of British royalty, Meghan had already made a name for herself in Hollywood, though not for her acting chops. People who attended her first wedding in Jamaica still talk about the bizarre party favors she handed out, roll joints, prepped by Meghan herself. Yes, you heard that right. She allegedly handed out gift bags containing drugs to her guests, a detail that could have landed them in serious legal trouble. But this wasn't some isolated, youthful rebellion. This is part of a much larger picture. The narrative of Meghan as someone who can control her surroundings through manipulation of substances starts to take shape. Some insiders claim that, even now, she uses this knowledge to maintain control over Harry, keeping him in a haze of dependency where his choices are clouded, while she controls the narrative of their public image. Could it be true? Could Meghan have built a framework around Harry's struggles to not just enable but actually keep him reliant on her? Add to this the rumored influence of Meghan's mother, Doria, and the plot thickens even more. There are whispers that Doria has ties to California's underworld, a connection that only adds to the growing speculation about the Markle family's deeper involvement in Harry's spiral. With ties to questionable circles, could Doria have played a role in facilitating Harry's access to substances, further isolating him from those who might offer real help? It's hard to ignore these growing questions. Meghan's past, combined with the rumors surrounding her current actions, paints a much darker picture than we've ever seen. And it raises an unsettling question: how deep does this manipulation really go? While the chaos unfolds, one thing is crystal clear: the palace is staying eerily quiet, and that silence speaks volumes. For years, Harry's struggles have been known behind closed doors, but what has the royal family actually done to help? The answer, at least publicly, is nothing. In fact, insiders say that instead of stepping in to get Harry the help he desperately needed, the palace has been more focused on protecting the royal image. Even as Harry's behavior grew more erratic, from outbursts to emotional breakdowns, the royal family's response was to cover up the mess, often with a charity project or a military photo op to distract the public. When the story was about to leak, the PR machine swung into action, ensuring that the narrative was controlled. Meanwhile, Harry continued to spiral unchecked. But that strategy is starting to unravel. This time, the story can't be buried. According to biographers who've spent decades documenting royal life, Harry's issues go back much further than anyone realized. Reports from the early 2000s hint at the first signs of substance abuse, but instead of facing consequences, Harry was shielded. And when he got into trouble, Prince Charles allegedly built a private nightclub inside Highgrove, trying to keep the chaos under control. But how does a nightclub solve a substance abuse problem? Now, with a recent incident at his California home, the cracks in the palace's carefully constructed narrative are becoming more obvious. Harry's issues can no longer be swept under the rug. The palace may be scrambling to protect him from the public fallout, but the damage has already been done. The question remains: how much longer can the royals stay silent before the truth about Harry's struggles and the palace's role in enabling them becomes impossible to ignore? As if the present wasn't dramatic enough, let's rewind a few years. All the way back to 2007, when whispers about Harry's substance use were already circulating, and these weren't your typical rumors. One of the most shocking stories resurfacing from that time is about Harry allegedly snorting vodka. Yes, you read that right. Snorting it, not drinking it. A method so dangerous that medical experts warn it can send alcohol straight to the brain, bypassing the liver, and causing fatal consequences almost instantly. But here's where things get even more unbelievable. Despite the severity of this incident, the media barely touched the story. Why? Because News of the World, one of the only outlets to report on it, was shut down due to a completely different scandal. And just like that, the story vanished, swept under the rug, and the public was never allowed to know the full extent of what was happening behind closed doors. Why was it ignored? Why was this so quickly brushed aside? Was the palace involved in the cover-up, or was it a case of the royal family's image being more important than Harry's well-being? It's hard to ignore the fact that, despite the gravity of the situation, no one in the media asked the tough questions. Everyone simply moved on. But now, those old tabloid clippings are resurfacing, and with them comes an undeniable truth. The palace may have been complicit in protecting Harry's reputation, while his personal struggles were allowed to fester in the background. The question that no one has dared to ask until now: how many other incidents were hidden? And how much longer can the palace keep hiding the truth? Harry's time in the military wasn't without its own set of problems, and it's now coming to light that the palace may have gone to great lengths to shield him during that period as well. There are rumblings that, during his service, drug tests were conveniently avoided, or even faked. Imagine the tension of a surprise test being announced, only for Harry to mysteriously disappear from the base just in time to avoid it. According to one former palace staffer, Harry was immediately flown out when the test was scheduled. This is a far cry from the image of a disciplined, royal soldier. But that's not all. There's also talk about an incident involving both cocaine and vodka during his military service. It's alleged that Harry wasn't just dabbling in substances during his time in the armed forces. He was deeply immersed in a dangerous lifestyle. And yet, as the rumors circulate, the palace did everything in its power to control the narrative. Every time things got too close to leaking, the royal PR machine would spring into action. Military photo ops, charity events, public appearances, they were all strategically timed to distract the public from the real story. How far did the palace go to protect Harry? The cover-ups didn't stop with his personal life, they bled into his time in the military, and that's something the public may never fully understand. The more we learn, the more it becomes clear, this wasn't just about protecting the royal family's image. It was about keeping Harry's darkest secrets from ever seeing the light of day. But as this story unfolds, it begs the question, how many more cover-ups are hiding behind the polished facade of royal life? Now we're left to face the fallout. Harry's spiral into addiction has gone public, and the once quiet whispers inside the palace have become a deafening roar. With each passing day, it seems more and more people knew about his struggles, yet no one stepped up to intervene. Meghan allegedly set up alibis, the palace stayed silent, and the press only focused on fluff. But there's one person who has always remained in the background, steadfastly loyal to Harry through it all: David Langdown. Langdown is the key figure in this entire saga. He's the one who found Harry that night in California, the one who made the crucial call to get Harry the help he desperately needed. The only person who stood by him through every chaotic chapter of his life, from the wild years in Vegas to the more recent mess in Montecito. But even with Langdown's intervention, the damage may already be too deep. This isn't just a one-time mistake or an isolated incident. It's a pattern that's been allowed to spiral unchecked for far too long. But here's the real kicker. Everyone involved in this mess has blood on their hands. From the enablers to the ones who turned a blind eye, it's becoming clearer that this situation was never just about one person. This is about a system that protected Harry's image for decades, allowing him to self-destruct in the process. The palace can no longer pretend to be ignorant of his struggles. And now the question remains, how far will the royal family go to contain the fallout? The stakes are higher than ever. If the reports are true, and Meghan really did flee the scene that night, the palace may never forgive her. It paints a picture of someone not just detached but calculating. Someone who knew exactly how it would look, and used that knowledge to protect herself. With the truth about Harry's addiction starting to leak out, the optics couldn't be worse. The royal family's carefully curated narrative is hanging by a thread. If Meghan's involvement in Harry's downfall becomes public, the consequences could be catastrophic for everyone involved. But this isn't just about scandal, it's about legacy. Harry's not just some rebellious prince anymore. He's a man consumed by a lifetime of trauma, unchecked freedom, and manipulation. And as the palace scrambles to protect the monarchy's image, the real question is whether they can save him or if they'll have to sacrifice him to protect the crown.